flow.
Welcome to episode 61 of the Gluttons For Punishment Podcast, or GFP, a Toronto Maple Leafs and NHL podcast hosted by Michael Lepore and Anthony Bruno. He's Lepore, I'm Bruno. Thank you so much for listening and watching us on YouTube as well. If you're a new listener and you enjoy the show, it would be a big time help if you give us a 5-star rating and review on both Apple and Spotify. And if you're watching us on YouTube, we would appreciate it so much if you smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you know exactly when the GFP podcast is posting some new content. The Toronto Maple Leafs did it again, losing in the first round of the playoffs for the 6th year in a row. Disappointment after disappointment after disappointment. I have a lot to get off of my chest. And someone else has a lot to get off of their chest as well. And his name is Mr. Michael Lepore. Lepore, let's just get right into this. How are you doing?
No introduction. Let's just get right into it. But dare you ask how I'm doing? Dare you ask? Because you're not. Bruno was one of like the 70 people to text me as the horn went to ask me how I was doing. But we'll save it. We'll save the discussions for a little later. Right now, a brief time for some happy stuff. Episode 61 of the Gluttons For Punishment podcast. Shout out goes to Nick Patan, who had a brief stint with the Maple Leafs. I call Nick Patan a World Junior goodie. He was there to help Canada win a gold medal in 2015. He scored a hat trick against Slovakia in the semifinal. I had high hopes for Nick Patan, skilled guy. He can put the puck in the net. Things just didn't work out for him in Toronto. And now he is in the Canucks organization. And again, he had a hard time getting in the lineup, but we'll see what happens with his future. Nick Patan, one of the only 2 players in history to wear number 61 for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah, I actually thought he was going to be a better player as well. Like he was also in the Jets organization. And like you said, the stuff that he did for Team Canada, really solid, skilled player. But yeah, I mean, that's a guy that he's easy to root for, a guy like
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
But Lepore, before we get into this, and like I said, before we get all of these thoughts off of our chest and talk through this therapy session, if you will, we have a special announcement to make.
Yeah, love doing these. The John Tavares jersey giveaway. We have a winner. In the very first video, there was an individual with the Instagram handle. I just want to make sure I get it right. Booger Bob Wallace, who predicted the Lightning to win the series in 7. It was actually a comical response. He did it as kind of like a reverse jinx, admittedly so, but it doesn't matter. He was right. So Booger Bob, we fired you a message on Instagram. So check that out. We'll need your full mailing address so we can get you your John Tavares jersey as soon as possible.
Love it. Congrats, Booger Bob Wallace.
Yeah, man.
We loved your response.
Well, we didn't love his response.
Well, I mean, obviously we hated the result of the series, the Lightning winning in 7 games, but Booger Bob, awesome response. It had us cracking up. So congrats to you on winning the John Tavares jersey giveaway.
Yeah, wear it proudly. Wear it proudly.
Wear it proudly as a proud member of GFP Nation.
Yeah.
Dr. Bob Wallace. All right, Lepore, let's get right into this.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a lot to get off my chest because I've been seeing a lot of people on Twitter and social media talking about how proud they are of this Leafs team for fighting against the back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. I do not fall under that category whatsoever.
Okay.
And before I get that off my chest, are there any initial thoughts you want to give about what we just witnessed this past weekend with the Leafs blowing another series, in my opinion, up 3-2, home ice advantage, and they lost the last 2 games to fall in 7. It just can't happen. I'm sorry, it can't. I don't care who they're playing. It just can't happen.
You know, but I'm going to let you go. You seem pretty pumped up. You go, and then I'll respond.
Okay. I'll go first. So I was watching Steve Dangle's reaction.
Oh, yeah.
He was doing the live stream watching game 7. And after it ended, he was talking about how proud he was and how it wasn't like last season, how last season was essentially a choke job against the Montreal Canadiens, the worst team of the 16 in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Or this year, it was different. It was the Stanley Cup champions. They're battle tested. They know how to win. They have all these great players. Andrei Vasilevsky. I'm not in that camp, man. I'm just not. And here's why.
Okay.
I thought the Leafs were the better team throughout this series. And I thought it was extremely close, but I thought the Leafs were the better team. But as we know in the Stanley Cup playoffs, the better team doesn't always win. But it has now been 3 years in a row, Lepore, where the Leafs have had home ice advantage in the first round of the playoffs and have been the better team, at least in my opinion. When you look back at the Columbus series, the Habs series, and now this series, they were up 3-2 and they had 2 cracks to close this thing out and they failed to get the job done. So that's number one. Number two, it's these stupid mistakes that they made in the final 2 games of this series. And I go back to game 6. Okay. Everyone's talking about the phantom high stick call that hit Cal Foot in the shoulder and he whips his head back. First of all, that's a very difficult call for the ref to make in the moment. They can't review that.
Yeah.
So, okay, it was a bad call, whatever. What I have an issue with is what Kerfoot did 200 feet from his own net, high sticking Victor Hedman in the face. That was just beyond stupid. Then you have that Kerfoot giveaway. Then you have the Mikheyev giveaway at the blue line, which led to that shorthanded goal.
Yeah.
I mean, the mistakes just pile up in big moments for this team, Lepore. And we'll get into the whole officiating fiasco, what happened in game 7, which negated that John Tavares goal. That was awful. And listen, I think for the most part, the officiating was bad throughout this series. And I think it went against the Leafs more times than not. And that's extremely frustrating. And if you're going to blame the refs, honestly, it's hard to argue with that. But I look at these little mistakes that were made in these big moments. And I think back to last year, you know, the Alex Galchenyuk giveaway at the blue line, Travis Dermott's giveaway in game 6, which led to the Jesperi Kotkaniemi goal when the Leafs were peppering the Habs in that overtime. So I look back at these little moments and these mistakes that this team seems to make every year in these big moments. And then on top of the fact, Lepore, the star players on Toronto, I'm sorry, I didn't think they were good enough in game 7. And I know Matthews had that nice pass back to Morgan Riley, which led to the tying goal. But Andrei Vasilevsky was the best player in game 7. And that's what mattered. And I thought that the Leafs star players, even though John Tavares did score and the goal was taken away, I thought they didn't rise to the occasion. And you look across the NHL, Connor McDavid, monster game 7, played over 27 minutes for Edmonton in their 2-0 victory. Johnny Gaudreau, overtime winner for the Calgary Flames. Artemi Panarin, $11 million man for the New York Rangers, scores the overtime winner in game 7 to knock out Pittsburgh. And then you look at the Leafs, and that just simply did not happen. So those are my initial thoughts on the series, and I'm upset. And that's why I'm not proud of this team, honestly, because I had way bigger expectations for them. And I think that they fell short again in a situation that they should have won.
Yeah. The word proud is a strong word. Like, did Dangle actually use the word proud? Like, I'm proud of this group.
I'm 99% sure he was talking about how proud he was of the team.
Yeah.
And just how it was different from past years.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have a huge problem with that, but I'm not going to spit out those words after a loss. We were proud of them when they lost to Washington because they were a bunch of kids making the playoffs for the first time and put up a fight. 6 years later, the expectation, or the standard, I should say, is to win. So I'm not going to use the word proud. I do think this year is different because of who they lost to. It did go 7, and the Stars, for the most part, played well in the series. To me, anyway, where it was lost was game 6. During game 6, I mean, you already mentioned the Kerfoot giveaway and the Mikheyev giveaway. I was having flashbacks of the Montreal series. Like, as you mentioned, you made the comparison because this team just finding a way to lose. So it's almost incredible that this team went 7 games with Tampa Bay, kind of gift wrapping some wins to the Lightning. I mean, they didn't, the game 2 was similar. The Leafs made a lot of mistakes, giving Tampa opportunities. Then they didn't show up at all in game 4. Again, it's pretty incredible that this series did go 7 games. But to me, it was lost. It was lost in game 6. The way that game started, how the first things first, my feeling was Tampa can't score right away. We're up 3-2. The crowd's going to be nuts. They can't score right away. The whole weather the storm cliche, maybe get out of the first period 0-0. Toronto looked great, I thought, in that first period.
Agreed.
Just they kept it calm. They kept it neutral. And it's one of those things. And I said the same thing about Tampa in game 7. The longer the away team kept the score at 0-0, the better it was for them. So to me, Toronto being deep into the first period where 0-0 was a great thing. I felt really confident as that period was going on. And then you have the Kerfoot giveaway. Just unbelievable. Like, again, hashtag Leafs. Okay. So you get out of the first period down by 1, not the end of the world. Okay. But then that Mikheyev giveaway. Like, these are unbelievable, man. Like, these are crazy brain farts in game 47 of the regular season. They have to happen in game 6 of a series. You're up 3-2. Just craziness.
It's just unacceptable. Like, it's as simple as that. And people are going to make excuses. You can't be making boneheaded decisions and mistakes like that in these big moments. You just can't.
Yeah. Like, they're simple. It's like, there's 2 ways to look at it. When things happen like that, like the Galchenyuk giveaway or the Dermott giveaway last year, to me, it changes your mindset. It's almost like you can look at the series in a way of like, fuck, it was just like the worst timing in the world for these things to happen. But then there's the other side that says, like, don't let them happen. Like, don't make those mistakes. You can't gift wrap a team like the Tampa Bay Lightning goals. And going into game 7, I had the bad feeling. And people say, oh, just me being a Leafs fan, just, from my past and whatever, because I knew game 6 was the game. And even how they fought back, like, again, like the historical hockey god things do not exist with the Toronto Maple Leafs. For the Leafs to be down 2-0 on the road in Tampa in a game they can clinch a series, have that span where they score 3 goals to go up 3-2 going into the third. Again, historical hockey god stuff, it's over.
Yeah, you think it's over 100%.
Oh my
Seal it
God.
up. Good night, Tampa.
You deflated that team. They showed Tampa's bench, just like bench guys, just like shaking their head. Leafs are fired up. They go in with a lead going into the third period. And again, the Leafs started the third period the way they started the first period. I think there wasn't a whistle for the first 5 or 6 minutes. That penalty may have been the first whistle. Correct me if I'm wrong, the first high sticking penalty. And to me, with that point, and this is where I'll say again, it fell in the third period of game 6 and then creeped into game 7. Somebody out there try to convince me that the Toronto Maple Leafs aren't cursed. Try to convince me, because the high sticks, whatever, like you said, that's a super hard call to make. Like, people blaming the referees, but again, just like the timing of it, God forbid that didn't happen at that exact moment. And then Kerfoot 30 seconds later in a game we're up 3-2. Unbelievable. Don't tell me this team isn't cursed. It's impossible. But one thing I will say, and I was shocked, and call me a homer on this one. Here you have a team get a 5-on-3 in the third period of a game they are down in a series 3-2. Am I wrong to say that I was expecting Toronto to get a power play?
No, I think at that point, if you're going to give a team a 5-on-3 in the third period of a game 6, you would think that the favor would be returned to the Leafs. And again, it sounds ridiculous to say.
It sounds ridiculous. And
this is how NHL,
but it's how the NHL works. Exactly. It's how don't tell me that's not how it goes. And again, God forbid, like the Leafs would have gotten a call and got an opportunity to win. And again, like the overtime, it's like, again, like you lose this series and you look back. And that's why these judgments are so hilarious. Kerfoot had, is that like, I don't say like the worst game I've ever seen a Toronto Maple Leafs player play, but just like the biggest nightmare. The guy gives the puck away on the first goal, gets the high sticking penalty to make it a 5-on-3, and then has the best chance of overtime. Again, like, don't tell me the Leafs aren't cursed. God forbid it goes in. Like the story of like the guy who fucked them earlier in the game scores the winner. It would have happened to everyone else, but no, it gets made worse. Was it Mikheyev who had another chance in overtime?
Yeah, Mikheyev had a really nice chance. The Leafs had like, I want to say 4 like really good looks in overtime.
Weren't they out shooting like 6-1 or something in overtime?
Yeah, I'm looking at the totals right now, Lepore. They ended up out shooting Tampa 9-5 in that OT.
There you go.
It's so frustrating. And you said it, man. I was sitting on the couch for game 6 and game 7. And I'm just thinking, like, can a puck just go in off someone's ass?
Oh my God.
Or someone's skate or something for once?
I know.
One time.
I know.
It's unbelievable because you even look at the goal that like Braden Point scored in overtime.
Exactly.
Like it wasn't a great goal.
No.
And then even going to game 7, the 2 goals that Nick Paul scored, they're like these bang, bang plays. I cannot believe that second goal where he's like, I think honestly it was by accident where he was like dangling through Brody's skates.
Oh yeah, it just hit his foot and went to his stick. He knew what he was doing.
Like, has Nick Paul ever pulled anything off like that in his life? And I know he scored some.
God,
I know he scored some big goals. Like he scored the big goal for Canada in the World Championships. But I mean, like a high skill level play like that, where he's literally dangling through a really solid defenseman's skates and sniping one home for the go ahead goal. Like it's just honestly unbelievable.
Again, like the curse thing. I like to look up how many 2-goal games has Nick Paul had in his entire career. Game 7 against the Toronto Maple Leafs, night of his life. He's a Mississauga boy, I believe, too. So of course he's got to do it. And like I was thinking the same thing as you. Like again, and I'm gonna say like the Leafs are unlucky. Like you can be the biggest like Leafs hater in the world. They're fucking unlucky in these games. Like God forbid, like God, and it's all these things. I know we'll talk about like if you want to talk about like the Tavares call. I kind of go the same ways I go with those 5-on-3 with the penalties that led to the 5-on-3 in game 6. We can sit here and debate. Was it a pick? Was it interference? Some people are saying one popular take is it was, but not the way the game was called at that point. Would you have called that? But again, God forbid it doesn't get called and the Leafs get that break. God forbid. Unbelievable. It's just, it's stuff like that. And again, that's not me taking blame away from them too, but there is the factor of things have to go your way a little bit. And the Leafs, again, they just don't get it. And like people here are saying, I mean, Canada's laughing at us right now. Okay. And they're allowed to. Like Dangle touched on that. I watched that video where, it is what it is. And good for them. The Oilers and the Flames are both in the second round. The Oilers needed 7 to beat the Los Angeles Kings and won a close game in game 7. Calgary, Dallas. It took 7 games and they won in overtime of game 7. And I was watching last night. I think Dallas got the first 4 or 5 shots of overtime.
Oh, and that overtime was nuts. That could have gone either way. I was watching that whole overtime. It was back and forth. And even though the Flames like heavily outshot them in the game, Dallas had some chances, man, to win that game.
It was more, I was sitting there like second period. I'm like, Dallas is going to win. Like that thing in me of like, it just sucks, but that the better team's going to lose. But
it felt like feeling. Leafs Habs, honestly.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. But when you win a series like these, you got lucky. There was luck. And that's not me saying, oh, you won simply because of the fact you were lucky, but you need like the bounce. If you go over chances, say in these game 7s, I'm sure there was a million where it hit someone and just went wide or hit someone and went in, or like even Goudreau's shot, like he picked that corner. Like it's inches. That's it. And like, so again, you deserve your win. You 100% deserve your win, but hockey's such an erratic sport that things have to go your way, and it just never happens for the Leafs. And you can't convince me that you can't look me in the face, call me a homer all you want. You can't be like, oh, it does go your way. Like, come on. Like we just went over the Dermott turnover, the Galchenyuk turnover, what happened to Kerfoot, like unbelievable, man. The Tavares call, like one of these things, like one, just give us one. But again, we signed up to be Leafs fans. So, I mean, rest of our life, we'll be seeing moments like this.
You want to talk about unlucky, Lepore? I'm sure people have seen this stat floating around on Twitter. For those of you who haven't seen it,
no, don't tell me.
It's from the account at Stats by Stats.
Oh, I think I know where you're at.
It's a reputable source. They sent out a tweet after Game 7 saying the Maple Leafs are the first team in MLB, NBA, and NHL history to lose a winner-take-all game in the opening round of the playoffs 5 years in a row.
Awesome.
You almost wouldn't be able to do that even if you tried.
That's my thing with the luck. And if you say, oh, the Bruins is not, it went 7. A series that goes 7 can go either way. I hate to break it to everyone, but there's luck involved. There's bounces involved.
It's insane, Lepore. If me and you were coaching a team in 5 consecutive winner-take-all opening round series in Game 7, Game 5, whatever it is, and we told our team, guys, go out there and lose this game. If we did that 5 years in a row, I bet you we'd win one.
Yeah, sure.
I bet you just by luck we'd win one of those 5 games.
Yeah,
if we literally went out there and told our team to lose the game. That's how insane this is.
Yeah, I don't want to be clear. This is not Bruno and I just saying the Leafs are unlucky and that's why they lost. You don't win, you don't win. And people can say, oh, you earn luck, and 100% you do. It's just that with the Leafs, it is pretty comical. Like, we're making fun of ourselves here, is what we're doing. Like, it's true, really and truly unbelievable. But
yeah, it's hilarious. Like, listen, I'm extremely disappointed. I had big expectations for this team. Yeah. Personally, I think they blew it. But at the same time, like Lepore said, I 100% agree. I think they are just extremely unlucky as well. Yeah. Because how do you do this 5 years in a row? You lose a winner-take-all game in the first round of the playoffs. Like, it's almost impossible to do, even if you tried. Yeah. Really. I mean, it comes down to that. And I think both things can be true at the same time, where you can be extremely disappointed and think that they blew the series, but also understand that there's a lot of luck involved. And for whatever reason, it just never falls the way of the Leafs.
Yeah, that's the right way to put it, that you can feel both ways. But, and I know at a time like this, people don't want to hear like calm, rational thought. They want to hear a scream and yell and swear. And I'm sure there'll be a lot more swearing on this pod, probably more than normal. But I've recently argued against the whole, the Leafs can't get past the first round argument, and this group can't do it. And here's why. First things first, I don't really give a shit about winning a round as far as like how I judge a team. Like, for example, if Edmonton loses to Calgary, I won't be like, wow, the Oilers, they had a good year because they won around and beat LA, and vice versa. Like last night, Calgary, again, things have to go your way to win a Game 7. Can you imagine the disaster that would have been if Calgary lost to Dallas after the season they had? Even now, I'll say it. If they lose to Edmonton, you got a second round opponent. Calgary got Dallas and Edmonton.
Yeah, they got to beat Edmonton.
Oh my God. Like, I'd like to look back. Is there an easier first 2 rounds in like recent hockey history? Like, come on. And that's not shit on Edmonton specifically. I'm just saying, like, as a second round opponent, like, Edmonton.
Go back to Edmonton for a second, Lepore. They took 7 games to beat a Kings team without Drew Doughty and Victor Arvidsson, who was one of their top scorers this year, on a team that isn't very good at putting the puck in the net. And having Victor Arvidsson, it's not like he's a star.
And they were down 3-2 in the series.
That would have been a disaster for Edmonton. But like you said, I mean, Calgary's the better team. And yeah, this is a pretty easy first couple of rounds for this Calgary Flames team.
Yeah. So like to me, like my judgment's always, I think the line for me is the conference finals. If a team makes the conference finals, regardless, in most cases anyway, based on the draw, they can look at it and be like, that's an accomplishment. Like, you beat 2 playoff teams. And if you have a hard fought battle in the third round, that's an accomplishment. The whole like first round thing, like, as far as like a Leafs fan goes, yeah, I'm disappointed and I'm frustrated as fuck that it keeps happening. But had we won Game 6 or 7 and lost to Florida, say in the second round, I wouldn't be like, woohoo, well, the Leafs made progress. That doesn't mean next year they're going to make the third round or win the cup or be better next year. And the fact that a team loses in the first round this year, even didn't make the playoffs this year for that matter, doesn't mean they won't win the cup next year.
It's time for a quick break for a word from our sponsors at MANSCAPED. You asked for it and they listened. They just relaunched the Ultra Smooth package. It's back, baby. Your new favorite tool and complement to the Lawnmower 4.0 to keep your boys smooth while looking and feeling their best. This specialized groin shaving kit is here to help you buff, protect, and shave your most sensitive areas. It's time to get right to the root with a discount for you from Manscaped. Get 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com using the promo code GFP20. Lepore, Manscaped just never disappoints, man.
Unlike the Toronto Maple Leafs, Manscaped absolutely never disappoints. We're sad, everyone. We're depressed. We're questioning the meaning of life right now. It's all very negative. So why not try to find some positive with some good, clean, smooth balls, courtesy of the products at Manscaped.
You said it, man. You might be questioning the Toronto Maple Leafs, but you will never question the amazing products from Manscaped. They always come through in the clutch. So get 20% off and free shipping using the promo code GFP20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the promo code GFP20 at manscaped.com. Smooth out your fellas with the relaunched Ultra Smooth package from the fellas at Manscaped. Your balls will thank you.
They will. Going deeper on them not being able to get out of the first round and this judgment that's had with them. This was the 6th year of the Matthews, Marner, Willie era. Okay. And you said all 6 years they get in and they lose in the first round. I have consistently made the point that the Leafs are judged with regard to their playoff success far harsher than they deserve because they made it right away. Whereas you look at other groups and it takes them 3-4 years to even make the playoffs, and then maybe even they make it, they miss. So people almost like look at their initial growth the first year they made the playoffs, even though it might be, say, 4 years into their career. And I went back, like Lepore the Geek did some research and looked back.
I love it.
Okay. We'll see in the comments how much people love it. And again, shit on as much as you want, but fucking angry. So I took some time to get my mind off things and did some hockey digging. So Stamkos was drafted first overall in 2008, Hedman in 2009. Okay. So let's take a look at the first 6 years of Steven Stamkos. 2009, missed playoffs. 2010, missed playoffs. 2011, they made the Eastern Conference Final, which is kind of weird the way it sandwiches in between. 2012, missed playoffs. 2013, missed playoffs. 2014, they lost in the first round, swept by the Montreal Canadiens. So in their first 6 seasons, there was only one. They got past the first round. They made the conference finals. And in the 5 others, and 4 of them, they missed the playoffs completely. And then the other one, they were swept. So I'll ask someone, what's a better 6 years? And I would take the debate of at least they made the conference finals once. But if you look at the 3 years that follow that conference final advancement, missed the playoffs, swept in the first round by Montreal. So we could even sit here saying, well, this is the 6th year of Matthews, Marner, Nylander, and they lost in 7 to Tampa by 1 goal. Whereas 6 years into Stamkos' career, he was out in the first round to Montreal and they got swept. Okay, moving on. The Capitals. Ovechkin and Green were drafted in 2004, Backstrom in 2005, Carlson and Holtby in 2008, Kuznetsov in 2010, and Wilson in 2012. Okay, so we'll start with the Ovechkin years. 2006, missed the playoffs. 2007, missed the playoffs. 2008, lost in first round. 2009, they did win a round, lost in the second round. 2010, lost in first round. 2011 and 12, lost in the second round. 2013, lost in the first round. 2014, missed the playoffs completely. So again, debate which one's better. Debate which start of their careers are better in terms of playoff success. And this is not me making excuses. This is me saying, like, careful with the judgment of it's been 6 years in a row. This team can't do it. If these guys were 30, I'd be like, oh, fuck yeah. Like we have major problems here. And I do think there are problems and I do think there are changes. I'm just making the point, like, comparatively, I think people are quick to look at Chicago, LA, and Sid coming into the Pens. Like those were the teams where
those were anomalies.
But they got their entry level deals. They kicked off right away and they were good right away and made runs right away, especially like Chicago. Like it was blasphemous how good that team was. And even too, moving forward to teams advancing this year, I'm going to talk about the Canadian teams, Calgary and Edmonton. Monahan was drafted in 2013. Gaudreau was drafted in 2011. His rookie season was 14-15. Anderson 15, Mangiapane 15, Tkachuk 2016. 2015, lost in the second round. 2016, missed playoffs. 2017, lost in first round. 2018, missed playoffs. 2019 and 2020, lost in first round. Last year, missed the playoffs completely. Again, not good. Compare it to the first 6 years of the Leafs core, and the last one will do, because I'm sure everyone is bored at this point. The Oilers, Darnell Nurse was drafted in 13. Hell, we can go all the way back to the first round picks of the Oilers, but we'll start in 2013. 2013, Darnell Nurse. 2014 was Draisaitl. 2015 was McDavid. 2016, they missed the playoffs. 2017, they did win a round, lost in the second round. 2018, 2019, missed the playoffs. 2020, lost in the qualifying round. 2021, lost in the first round to the Jets last year. Compare it. Tell me which one's better. Which one's better? And again, that is not me saying that there aren't major problems here. Such a major problem. It's a 115-point team. But I'll be the first one to admit the Leafs have to be better. I do look at the lineup, and maybe we can get to that a little later. There are certain things that for this team to get to that next level, and almost like that fuck you contender, like where I put Colorado and Tampa, some changes have to be done to the lineup and some insertions have to be made. But I'm just making the point, comparing it to teams that have won in the past and comparing it to teams that have now made the second round in this year's playoffs. You can argue the Leafs have had a better first 6 years in terms of their core goes. I guess that's my main argument. I'm arguing against the take that this core will never do it, or this core has to be blown up. Like they're just not right. And to that, and comment down below, I always challenge people. Oh, they just can't do it. They don't have the heart. They don't have the character. Tell me a team in the history of the NHL that had the talent, but just couldn't get past the first round. No. Eventually they broke through. Like I'll say it, like being someone from Ottawa, the Sens always got shit on because they couldn't get past the Leafs and they had a very talented team. Oh, no heart, no character. They made a conference final. They made that group made a Stanley Cup final, like Alfredson and co. So they did break through. The other one would have been the obvious one, San Jose. Like that team, based on their lineup, should have won at least one cup. But again, they were making conference finals. They were making the final. It just never went their way. And then maybe you can make an argument for Nashville-ish. But again, like they made runs. They just never got it done. And you need the luck, like as we touched on earlier. But no team comes to mind for me that they just can't win around. Like they're that much of a bunch of losers that they have all the talent in the world and they can't win around. I don't buy that.
Very well done, Lepore.
Woo! We're gonna take a 5-minute break, everyone. Take a breath.
I love it. No, you have established that the Leafs have had a better start to their era of young guns, let's call it, than Washington, Tampa, Calgary, and Edmonton, all of which missed the playoffs multiple times those first 6 seasons. And the Leafs, because they make the playoffs every year, going back to 2016, 2017, when Matthews, Marner, and Nylander all broke into the league as rookies, they have never missed the playoffs in 6 years. Think about that. They have never easily missed the playoffs.
And they've easily made the playoffs in 5 of them.
It's just wild to think about it. And I do agree. Listen, I don't want to defend the Leafs completely because, again, no. There's a lot of expectations on this team. And I think we can both agree, Lepore, that they're good enough, honestly, they were good enough this year, I think, to make a run of the Stanley Cup. I think any smart hockey fan who's been following this team would be hard to disagree with that, honestly.
At the end of the day, any team that pushes the Tampa Bay Lightning to 7 games, you're good enough to make a run. Like don't tell me that. Come on. Like you are. But one thing that jumped out at me, and again, perspective, when I was going over these seasons of these teams and even the Leafs. So in the Leafs' 3rd year, they lost to Boston. Of course they did. So in Washington, Boston. So that Boston team lost in the Stanley Cup Finals. Okay. So again, a little bit of perspective. Here we were the first ones to shit on that team. The Leafs second in a row, can't beat the Bruins, the big bad Bruins, more heart than we have, all this stuff. The core was what? Matthews, Marner, and Nylander were what? 21 years old. 21 years old. Our expectations were that they were going to beat a team win a game 7 on the road against a team that made the Stanley Cup final. I just made the point. I just went through Calgary. It took Gaudreau like 3-4 years to make the NHL after he was drafted. And we expected that group to go into Boston and win a game 7. And again, that's not me completely letting them off the hook. I'm just stepping back for a second and saying, you know what? Like, things from the perspective of this group and this core aren't as bad as they seem. And like I said before, people don't want to hear that right now. They're pissed. They're angry. Tears have been shed. I'm sure TVs have been smashed. I'm sure there was a lot of calls to the police so I'm pretty sure I was going to get a call, or a bylaw was going to show up to my door in games. And when Nick Paul scored that second goal, like, I yelled an F-bomb so loud. My neighbors are definitely calling the bylaw on me. But I heard one guy on Twitter said he smashed in his 80-inch TV.
Oh,
he's like, I look like a joke in front of my kids because I smashed in my 80-inch TV. I didn't go that far.
That's a lot of years of pain right there.
Yeah, of course. Come on, we're allowed, man.
But no, you said it, man. It's always more magnified because it's the Toronto Maple Leafs. Those first 3 years, if you're sitting there and telling me that was a colossal disappointment, that they couldn't get through Washington, who I believe won the President's Trophy that season, and that was Matthews, Marner, and Nylander's rookie year. If you're going to tell me that they should have gotten through Boston, as you alluded to, Lepore, they were still kids at the time. Their second and third years in the league, taking a Bruins team to game 7 twice on the road and losing. If you're going to tell me that they should have broken through in those 3 series, you're nuts, honestly. And again, is it disappointing? Of course it is, because I think we can all agree the Leafs were good enough in both of those Bruins years that they could have won those playoff series. One of those series, they actually had a 3-2 lead coming back to Toronto for game 6, and they couldn't get the job done.
It was exactly like this series. They went up 1-0, 2-1, 3-2, and then lost game 6 and game 7.
Exactly. But those 3 years, I don't think you can be very harsh on that team. You just can't. The 3 years that I have an issue with are the last 3 years. Yeah. The Columbus bubble series, the disaster 3-1 blown lead against Montreal last year, and then this year against the Tampa team where you're up 3-2 on home ice. Not to mention, Lepore, Braden Point, one of the MVPs of this Tampa team. You could say their 3 most important players are Victor Hedman, Andrei Vasilevsky, and then Nikita Kucherov and Braden Point. Those are like their 4 best players. And Steven Stamkos, not quite the same player he was, even though he had a 40-goal, 100-point season this year. The things that Braden Point does for that team, I mean, the guy does it all. He's incredible. He goes down, and you think, finally, this is the break the Leafs have been waiting for, and they still can't capitalize on that opportunity. No Braden Point. Tampa shuffling in their lineup, scrambling a little bit, digging deep, trying to find a way to get through that game 7 on the road. And the Leafs just couldn't take advantage of that. So to me, that was another element of the series that was extremely disappointing and extremely frustrating. But you said it, man. I mean, it's been 6 years now where this team has made the playoffs. Even look at Edmonton. Connor McDavid, who a lot of people would say is the best player in the world, even though Matthews is going to win the Hart Trophy this year. Connor McDavid, Lepore, missed the playoffs 3 times in his first 7 seasons in the league. The player that we think is the best player, that most people think is the best player in the world, and I think he's the best player in the world as well, even though Matthews is going to win the Hart.
Yeah.
And a player who a lot of people say is already one of the best players of all time. From a talent and skill perspective. He missed the playoffs 3 times in his first 7 seasons. So there's just a lot going on here. A lot of things you got to put in perspective. And it's like, are we going to blame Kyle Dubas for assembling Kyle Dubas, or even if you want to go back to Lou Lamoriello, are we going to blame them for assembling a team that was good? Well, the Leafs made the playoffs all 6 years because they had a better team around them than these other teams. So are we gonna? Is that a knock on the Leafs now that they had such a good team that they made the playoffs all these years? So that's now somehow we're being more harsh on them. It's like, come on. It's not like those first 3 years they were ready to win the Stanley Cup. And even going back to like Columbus and the Columbus series, right? So there's just a lot going on, man.
Yeah, this could be like a 6-hour podcast. But you mentioned the point thing. I don't know if you saw it. Someone posted, I don't know when it was in the series, but they posted the underlying numbers of the point line. It's Point, Killorn, and Cirelli versus the Matthews, Marner, Bunting line. And they were destroying Matthews and Marner in terms of like underlying numbers. Like they were keeping them at bay. And I mean, that's very hard to do. So I'm like, most Leaf fans, and I thought about that stat when Point went down. I was like, here we go. Like, let's get this done. Let's take advantage. But again, God forbid, #Leafs. One thing I will say, I will give credit where credit is due. Watching this game 7, I mean, we're all fans, but you try your best sometimes watch the game as neutrally as possible. That game from John Cooper and the Lightning was a masterpiece. That game was a fucking Picasso. Like I said, they kept it at 0-0 for as long as they could. They knew they would get their break. They executed when they got their break. Vasilevsky, like, again, he played well, but I don't recall any like crazy 5-star saves and sliding across and stealing goals away. I mean, our one goal came on the rush. So it wasn't like it was like a dominant like possession phase where the Leafs are hammering in shots, pinning Tampa in. It just, I will say it never felt like we were going to score. It really and truly felt like we were like, and again, I hate to admit this, but at the second intermission, I knew we were done. I was watching this game, like Tampa is just too dialed in. And like, again, I didn't expect us to get the bounce. And as that shitty as that sounds, but I knew, like, I was praying to the gods at that point, just like something stupid happened. Like let a shot go off 4 people, or I don't know, maybe we'd get the 5-on-3. Like, I don't know, but I was not confident going into that third period.
Yeah. And Tampa scoring the first goal of the game was huge. And then, obviously the Tavares goal being negated, but I felt like scoring that first goal would have been so huge, Lepore. Mm-hmm. You score that first goal on home ice, it's like an avalanche towards the other team because the crowd gets into it. Your team is feeling extra confident. You're playing a little bit more loose.
Yeah.
You go down 1-0 on home ice in a game 7. Immediately you start to tighten up a little bit. It's just natural, right? And it just felt like the Leafs were kind of just chasing the game the whole time. And I've seen it too many times this year now where, and again, the Leafs are very much like the Florida Panthers. Everyone likes to call Florida the cardiac cats. They always come back when they're trailing. The Leafs can pull off the same sort of magic. They can be down 2-3-0 in a game and come back to win. But you can't do that in a game 7. You can't fall behind and chase a game 7. You're just asking for trouble. And I felt like it just happened too many times to the Leafs, specifically in game 6 and in game 7, where they're just in these situations where they have to chase the game. They're not necessarily playing the way that they envisioned playing the game heading in, like in terms of their game plan. Because once you're down a goal and you're chasing the game, things change. Your mindset changes. The decisions Sheldon Keefe is making behind the bench changes. And it's like you said, heading into that third period, I think a lot of people in Leafs Nation felt the same, Lepore. They just had this uneasy feeling like, man, this is going to be very difficult to pull off. And, kudos to the Tampa Bay Lightning. It's like you said, there was a masterpiece of a game 7. Dudes just flying everywhere, blocking shots.
Oh, yeah.
Vasilevsky making every save he needed to. He was fantastic, I thought. So they're moving on, and the Leafs are going home, and we're all pissed off.
Two things before we move on. One thing is, talk about like their defensive zone play. It was reminding me of those Tortorella Rangers teams where they'd always create that line behind the shot. It's like puck goes to Riley at the point or Nylander on the side, and you have two Lightning players in the shooting lane at all times, and nothing could get through. Again, bravo to them. And the last point I'll make is you mentioned like the flow of the game and getting the crowd into it and Tampa taking the crowd out of it. A play that I'm kind of shocked is not getting more attention is Nylander missing that breakaway right after we tied the game. Because that I know it's easy to say that changes everything, but the Leafs get their goal. The crowd's going nuts. Nylander scores again quick to make it 2-1. And we're probably going into the third up 2-1. Tampa's freaking out a bit. The point injury, all that. Little things, man. But again, God forbid he would have picked the corner. No, he put it over. And it's funny. Nylander's on that breakaway. Okay. And he had a breakaway for a while. It was like before center ice, I should say. And I yelled out loud, Bruno, because we've joked on this show how Nylander and Ilya Mikheyev never score on breakaways. And a good friend of mine who's a Leafs fan, how he puts it is like, that's when I get up to get a drink, when one of those guys are on a breakaway. And Nylander got that breakaway, and I yelled out loud, "You haven't fucking scored one of these all year. Please do it now." Over the net.
Unbelievable, man.
Unbelievable.
Nylander, I think he must have led the first round of the playoffs in missed breakaways. Yeah. Like he had like 6 breakaways in the series and did not score on a single one. And you know, you look at his point total at the end of the series, he actually had a pretty solid series from a production standpoint, especially when you go back to games 4, 5, and 6. But my God, I mean, if the Leafs could have just got one big goal in game 6 or game 7, when it really mattered, when it really could have swung the tide, God forbid, man. So just so incredibly frustrating. But Lepore, we've already been talking for a long time. So
I know. Like
we got to get this thing moving here.
Yeah.
Next up, who's to blame? Is there a player? Is there a coach, Sheldon Keefe, that you want to blame? Is it the officiating? Who is to blame? Is it Kyle Dubas? Who is to blame for another first round exit?
This one, and we mentioned earlier on the pod that this one feels a little different than previous years. And what I will say is, for me anyway, the reason why it does feel different is because there's not something to immediately circle, or at least a few things to immediately circle. The 2 losses to Boston in the game 7s, Freddie wasn't good enough. You had the Jake Gardiner nightmares. People were circling Babcock. People wanted Babcock's head after that second one. So it was easy. It was an easy discussion. When we lost to Columbus, if I'm being perfectly honest with myself and our listeners, I just didn't think that team was very good. Like Tyson Barrie was never a good fit. Like Cody Ceci, like
that was a weird season, man.
Yeah, again, the COVID thing, the bubble. Like I just that
comes
year
in halfway through. Like it was just, you know, they
100%.
got off to that horrible start under
100%.
Babcock. I agree. I didn't think that was a great team either.
Yeah, and then like last year, we had the obvious things of the Galchenyuk giveaway, the Dermott giveaway, and Matthews and Marner not showing up. So it was easy. This time, our goaltending was a fine, good, however you want to put it. It's not like we got killed or our D was running around. That's another thing. People always circled the D in previous.
I thought the D was very solid.
Yeah, the D was fine. The Stars showed up. So to me, there's no immediate thing to circle, which I guess is a good thing. Because it's less drastic of a take, and then there's not, like the idea of, oh, let's blow it up or whatever. But one thing I will say is, I'll make 2 points. Number one, I'll talk about something at the top and then something not so much at the top. I am not blaming him for the game 7 loss by any stretch of the imagination, but Austin Matthews had to be better in game 7. He had to be better. And again, I'm not placing the blame on him. I'm just saying, you are the man. You are paid $11.6 whatever million a season, 60 goal scorer, Rocket Richard winner, Hart Trophy and Ted Lindsay nominee. You got to be the man in the game. And I'm not saying he was bad. As you mentioned, he got the helper on that Riley goal. But You got to take over. And I remember, I think it was actually a discussion about who the Leafs captain was going to be back in the day with Chris Johnston. And Matthews came up, and Chris Johnston, the way he put it, and I mean, whether these words came out of Matthews' mouth itself or something, a read Johnston got, but the quote was, Austin Matthews wants to be Kobe Bryant. He wants to be the Kobe Bryant of the NHL. Kobe Bryant was the man. You never had to worry about him showing up, ice in his veins, like he was a killer. They called him a killer. A killer. You just knew. Lakers getting the ball. Lakers late in the game. Who's getting the ball? Kobe is, and he's going to beat you. And we didn't get that from Matthews. And again, that's not me blaming him for the loss. I mean, in one game, anything can happen. I'm just saying that's what we lacked.
Yeah, you needed more.
Absolutely.
You needed more from Matthews. And I mentioned this earlier in the show. If you've made it this far, thank you very much for listening to us for the last 50 minutes. But I said this earlier in the show that, just look around the NHL. Johnny Gaudreau scores the OT winner for the Flames in Game 7. Artemi Panarin, $11 million man, scores the OT winner for the Rangers. Connor McDavid played over 27 minutes and was an absolute monster in that Game 7 against the Kings, while Leon Draisaitl was not 100%. And I don't know if he's even going to be 100% at all throughout this Flame series coming up in the Battle of Alberta. But you look at all these star players, they all came through in the clutch. And Austin Matthews, there's still a little bit more I want to see from him in that Game 7.
And he knows it. He knows
it too, right? Yeah. Like, there wasn't a moment. And listen, he had some looks where he could have scored and he could have swung the game. But I needed to see a little bit more from Austin Matthews. And honestly, even for Mitch Marner, for that matter. And again, I thought they both played well throughout the series. But in a Game 7, when you need someone just to take over and bring you home, I would have liked to see a little bit more out of those guys. Again, I'm not going to say to ship these guys out of town or anything insane like that. But it would have been nice to see those guys step up and deliver when the Leafs needed it most. Yeah.
I mean, the other thing I want to touch on was the depth. I mean, I thought Mikheyev was shit in this series. Like, he had a good year. And again, he's going to get paid this summer. But like, I thought he was terrible in this series. Just a total non-factor. I think what jumps out about this loss, and it's easy to say after a loss, and had we won, we wouldn't have this take at all. We'd all be cheering and think we were amazing. But the depth has to be better. As someone brought it up, they brought out the numbers. So Kerfoot has one 5-on-5 goal in 37 career playoff games. McCabe's played 19 career playoff games. Minus his 2 empty netters. He doesn't have a goal. Engvall hasn't scored in 17 playoff games. Kasha has 2 goals in 31 playoff games. I mean, that's not good enough. And where I put the pressure on there is the management. We constantly hear the Leafs have all this money. They have all these assets. They have the biggest, best scouting department. I want to see it. I want to see some of these kids break through and make a difference. Kids that go through the Leaf system, that come in on entry-level deals and have impact right away. And because of the lineup we have and the core we have, we don't need them to be dominant players. We don't need them to be absolutely dominant players. We just need them to be solid and give us a little more depth. And again, we're talking about a 115-point team. But now, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Teams have realistic goals, right? For a lot of teams, make the playoffs, win a round, whatever. And you have to be realistic based on where you are compared to other teams. I hope every offseason, this organization, the 12 rich guys at the round table, go in saying, how do we win the Stanley Cup? Like, we have a 60 goal scorer. Mitch Marner, had he played all the games, would have had 100 points. We went out and got John Tavares. The goal is to win the Stanley Cup. So that was the second thing I had. It's that depth with that punch, and it's got to come through the organization. At least I'd like to see it come through the organization. And my expectation it is, again, because of all this bragging I hear. Now I'm shitting on my own organization about how amazing we are and how deep we are and how much money we spend. Well, fucking show me. I want to see
prove it. Simple as that.
Yeah, let's see
prove it. Because look at this Tampa team, Lepore. Their stars didn't do anything in Game 7. Kucherov, Stamkos, Point went down. I mean, Hedman's Hedman. He controls the game, and Vasilevsky. But I'm talking about offensively. Their stars offensively didn't do anything in Game 7. It was Nick Paul. Let me repeat. Nick Paul was the Game 7 hero, and you nailed it, man. The depth on this team, as good as it was throughout the season, was not good enough in this series. Like, did anyone score a big goal when it mattered? Any of these depth guys?
I was going to say, even Bunting had a bad series.
Yeah, it's like score one fucking goal in a big moment. Like, again, Matthews and Marner, yes, did we want them to step up and perform a little bit better in the last couple of games? Of course. Would we have loved for them to take over Game 7? Of course. But would it kill anyone? My God, if one of these depth guys, like I said before, if they just shot a puck off someone's ass and it went in, like just someone put the goddamn puck in the back of the net.
On the point of the Stars, I thought Kucherov actually had a shit second half of the series. Like he scored that goal 5-on-3, but whatever. Like his body language didn't look good. He didn't look fast. I didn't think he had a good second half of the series at all. But I'll ask you, and this is kind of funny. So Nick Paul scores those 2 goals. Who would be like the Leafs equivalent to Nick Paul? Like Kasha or Kampf or something?
It would be Kampf or Kasha. I mean, you could maybe even put Mikheyev in that same category. I mean, I'm just going down the list. It's basically, or Spezza for that matter. Yeah. Then again, like Nick Paul plays more minutes than Jason Spezza, right?
Right. The point I want to make is imagine we were sitting here, the Leafs won Game 7 2-1, and like Kampf scored 2 goals. Like that's like crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy talk.
Yeah, number 1, us winning. Number 2, like Kasha or Kampf or like Bunting being the guy to do it for us. It's just
funny, it just seems like so far-fetched and just like, yeah, like I never did I like throughout that whole game, like I just couldn't envision any of those depth guys like stepping up and doing what Nick Paul did.
Yeah.
And it's like and Nick Paul's like, he's not even that good. But he came through in the clutch.
Yeah. I remember having an argument. Go ahead,
like,
Bruno.
It's brutal, man.
I remember having an argument, like having a discussion with Sens fans because he was liked here. He was liked in Ottawa. And again, like he's a fine player, but the rumors going around about the type of contract he was going to get, 80 games played, 16 goals, 16 assists. Like, whatever. I mean, fine, he's a fine player, but there's rumors of like, 4 times 4, 4 times 5. I'm like, no, Sens fans, like you don't want that. Here he is scoring 2 goals in a Game 7.
Lepore, he has never had more than 20 points in a season in the NHL. Now, I will say he's never played a full.
You mean before this year?
Or sorry, yeah, before this year, because this year he comes over. This was like his first full 80 game season. He played 80 on the nose, so didn't play a full 82. He had 32 points. Before that, 20 points, 20 points, 2 points, 1 point. His rookie year, he had 5 points. So, this isn't some like unbelievable depth player. I would take Ilya Mikheyev, Andre Kasha from an offensive standpoint. Jason Spezza, for that matter. I'd take all 3 of those guys from an offensive standpoint over Nick Paul. Maybe until now, after watching what he did in this series.
I think too, we'd have to dig it up. I don't know why we're talking about Nick Paul, but we know why we're talking about Nick Paul. But I think he must have gotten a lot of assists since that deal with Tampa, because I remember him kind of being like that Cy Young guy. Like he had like 13 goals, 6 assists or something weird. So I think he was very assist heavy since he got to Tampa. I mean, you're playing with really good players. But anyways, let's move on from the guy who killed our hopes and dreams.
Yeah, I mean, we gotta quickly go through this here. So what changes need to be made? Because there's been a lot of hot takes out there saying blow up the core, fire Sheldon Keefe, fire Kyle Dubas, Shanahan's gone, they can't get it done. I'll just start off quickly by saying I don't think that they should blow up the core. I think it would be a colossal disaster. Now, saying that, Lepore, I would listen if someone's calling me about John Tavares, for example, even William Nylander for that matter. Like if someone's calling me and inquiring, I'm picking up the phone and I'm listening and I'm saying,
yeah, Yeah.
What's the possibility here? Like, what are we talking about? What would a trade look like? Can that help our team? Especially John Tavares. And I understand he has a no movement clause. It's going to be extremely difficult to trade him. But, just thinking about freeing up that $11 million and deploying that throughout the roster, that's very enticing to me. And I get it. John Tavares stepped up big time
Fucking
the
right,
last couple of games. When a lot of people were shitting on him, when me and you were shitting on him to a certain degree as well. Like he did not look good the first half of the series, but the last 2 games, shout out to the captain, John Tavares. He stepped up.
Yeah, he gave everyone a big fuck you in those later games.
Yeah. But saying that, it's like I said, man, I'm listening. If someone's calling me and they're saying, is John Tavares available? Is William Nylander available? I'm going to listen. I'm not trading Matthews or Marner. I'm not
stupidity.
Like Morgan. I thought Morgan Riley had a really nice series. You can disagree with me if you want. I'm a huge Morgan Riley fan, but if there's maybe a way to free up some cap space and try something a little bit different, I'm on board with that. And then also, Lepore, one other thing. I have been warming up to the idea of potentially bringing in Barry Trotz.
Whoa, let's go.
I've been
the Islanders the Islanders just promoted their assistant coach to head coach, by the way. I got the alert.
And there you go.
There you go.
I'm warming up to it. I'm not 100% on board because I think Sheldon Keefe has actually done a nice job with this team. Like, people forget this was Sheldon Keefe's first full 82 game season as head coach of the Leafs, and he led them to a 115 point season.
Yeah.
So say what you want about Sheldon Keefe. He's only been here essentially for 2.5 years. And last year in the shortened season, they were really good, won the division. This year, 115 points. And I understand he's tied to Kyle Dubas, but I don't know. I think Kyle, this is a coach in Barry Trotz where he's one of like 3 to 5 coaches where when they're available, almost any team in the league outside of like Tampa, who has John Cooper, I think would have to consider honestly bringing in Barry Trotz to coach their team just based on his track record and what he's been able to do with a lot of different teams and bringing them a lot farther than people think. So I'll just leave it off on that. I think it's enticing to me.
Yeah. Speaking of coaches,
over to Barry Trotz.
DeBoer just got fired, so that's that alert just came in. That's another one. Guy. But again, the point I make, and I'm just like throwing it out there. Okay, Trotz, the success and all that. We said that about Babs, and I think you hit the nail right in the head where. And like, I think most people would agree with this. Keefe and Dubas are tied together. I think the day one of them goes, they both go. And it'll be like a new wave. In terms of changes, I mean, here we are losing in the first round, whether it was to the Tampa Bay Lightning or not in 7 games. This was a 115 point team. The only things you could suggest are things that aren't necessarily realistic. Like to make, we should go out and get Victor Hedman, who's probably my like top 5 favorite players in the league right now, the way he played against us, like unbelievable player. But 115 point team, a young team. The changes, I mean, we have to figure out the goaltending because Mrazek is still there and Campbell is a free agent. I think they're going to do everything in their power to blast Justin Hall into the sun. Now, he took a lot of shit this year and during this series, and he did better the second half of the series. But I just think in an ideal world, Sandin, Liljegren, they're in the lineup. I think a lot of people are hoping Gio resigns if it's like one of those hometown Toronto discount deals that Simmons and Spezza signed up for. So we'll see there. And in terms of the kids next year, in terms of the depth, like we're going to lose Mikheyev, but like I stand now with Robertson where I stood with Sandin and Liljegren last year. Robertson's got to make the team. Like Robertson has to be 100%. In the team next year contributing. Like enough is enough now. And then one of those other guys, is it, I mean, Knees or like Abruzzese or one of them, like it's not going to be Amarov because of his health issues, but we need someone to come in and contribute. Like those are the changes. And I mean, here I am talking about like prospects and hoping they come in and do well. I mean, every team's hoping for that. But again, when you're a 115 point team, there's nothing major you can really say that would make any sense. I mean, in an ideal world, we would have a 30-minute number one defenseman and an all-world goalie. So that's it.
Those players don't grow on trees.
Yeah.
And you can't just make a phone call and be like, well, we're going to trade John Tavares for one of the top 3 goalies in the NHL. Like, it just doesn't work like that.
Yeah, maybe Dallas will give us Ottinger.
Yeah.
Fuck.
They're going to be like, give us Austin Matthews. Did you see what Jake Ottinger just did in this series in that game 7?
Yeah,
Austin Matthews is our asking price.
We'll take Matthews Marner and Scotiabank Arena as our new practice facility for Ottinger. Jesus.
Jeez, man. No, but you said it. It's small changes in my opinion. And again, like I said, I'm listening. If there's going to be a big splash, I'm picking up the phone if I'm Kyle Dubas and I'm exploring at least what's out there. But it's the periphery, of this roster. Like, they got to find a way to replace Mikheyev, who scored at a 30-goal pace this season. And who knows, maybe he's going to re-sign, but this guy wanted to take off last season.
It's true.
And maybe he's just going to go and chase the money somewhere because the Leafs aren't going to be able to pay him very much. Yeah. And then just looking at their cap situation, Lepore, obviously Spets is a UFA, Colin Blackwell's a UFA, Andre Kasha needs a new deal.
Would you bring back Lyubushkin?
I think so. He's a UFA as well. And same with Giordano for that matter.
Yeah. See, like I made the point to someone. Lyubushkin, he hit people. He was kind of intense. I mean, his underlying numbers are terrible. What does he actually contribute? I mean, we could have a debate about that. But I'd be okay with Lyubushkin kind of like in Hall's spot.
Yes.
Like for what he does and what he brings, just be down there. But they had him playing with Riley. That wasn't good enough. Come on, guys. That's where I was getting a little frustrated.
Yeah, I agree with that. I wouldn't mind him coming back in a depth role. Honestly, even Giordano for that matter. If he's going to come back on a cheap contract,
you have to take that.
You got to bring Giordano back. I don't know if he's going to pull a Jason Spezza and be like, all right, I'll play for nothing, $750,000.
Yeah.
And this guy's made a lot of money in his career. Maybe that's the case with Giordano. And he's just like, whatever. I'll just sign for $1 million, couple million. Who knows, right? But I would definitely welcome both of those guys back. But again, you said it. You can't have Lyubushkin playing with Morgan Riley.
Yeah, it's not.
I'm sorry, that's just not gonna work.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much it with that, Lepore. I mean, we're basically right at the end of this podcast here. I don't want to get into this too much in detail, but we're in the second round of the playoffs now. Just give me your 4 teams that you think are going to advance to the
4 teams 4. To advance. Okay, maybe I'll throw in games really quickly. I'll say it right now. I had it from the beginning. I have Colorado winning the whole thing. I think it's their year. I think the Blues will be their hardest test, most likely. I will say Colorado gets it done. I'm going to say it goes 7. I'm going to say the Avs in 7. Calgary, Edmonton. Sit back and enjoy the show, everyone. I'm very excited for this series. I will be staying up late every night to watch this series. That's a tough one for me because there's that part of me that's like Calgary's the obvious choice, but that emotional thing with Edmonton, for me, it's like Montreal had a better chance against us than they normally would have. It was 2 teams with that gap just because it's Montreal and there's more involved. And I think people know what I mean by that. So I'm going to say Flames in 6. I'm going to say Flames in 6, but I will not rule out Edmonton nipping them. McDavid just going bananas and nipping them. So I'll say Flames in 6, Avs in 7. Moving on to the East. My immediate gut reaction would have been Tampa's going to beat Florida, but with Point getting hurt and it didn't look good. And like I said, Kucherov's body language not looking the greatest. Man, that's a tough one. I think it goes 7. I think that one goes 7. And I will say, I'll say Tampa. I'll say Tampa in 7. And then for the last series, we have the Rangers and Carolina. I will say Carolina takes it in 6. I like the Hurricanes. A lot of speed, a lot of aggression in the way they play. Brendan Moore is the man, Rod the bod. So I say my final 4 are Colorado, Calgary. Who'd I pick? Carolina,
Carolina,
and Tampa. Yeah.
All right, Lepore. Nicely
Not
done.
hot takes. Man, Colorado now, I think, man, start of the second round, they're only plus 200. Like, that's how heavy of a favorite
to win the
they are
Stanley Cup.
Yeah, like
plus 200 to win the cup. Insane.
Yeah, no.
I'll quickly go through my picks. So
Sure.
just to let you guys know, I went 7 for 8 in the first round. And would you take
which one did you lose, Bruno?
Yeah, take a wild guess as to which team blew that for me. Yeah. Blew a perfect 8 for 8 first round. Yeah. Yes, of course, it was the Toronto Maple Leafs who disappointed us for, like I said, it's not really 6 years in a row. It's been now since 1967. So
half my life in a row.
Jesus, man. So they screwed over my perfect 8 for 8. But here's what I'll say for the second round. So I think Colorado's the best team in the NHL, but I did pick the St. Louis Blues to clip them when I made my playoff bracket. And maybe that's just me trying to be a contrarian because I'm trying to win all these playoff pools that I'm in. And I knew that 95% of people would take the Avalanche.
Yeah, it's okay.
But I'm going to say the Blues clip them.
Nice.
And I'm going to say they take out the Avalanche in 6.
Nice. Well, they win it at home. Nice.
So that's my hottest take of the second round. Sticking in the Western Conference, I love the Calgary Flames. I think they're just an excellent, well-rounded team. Yeah. I think they take care of business. And again, I think the Battle of Alberta and the emotions, and that's going to play a big factor, just like it did with the Leafs and Habs last season. But I'm going to say the same thing. I'm going to say Flames in 6. Okay. I think they get through Edmonton. I just don't think Edmonton's good enough. And I don't know how healthy Draisaitl is going to be. That's going to be a big factor. But listen, Edmonton had a difficult time with the Los Angeles Kings. Now they're facing essentially a fully healthy Calgary Flames team that's playing with confidence. And I know Edmonton has confidence too. They've won a playoff series, but this Flames team is just a better team. So Flames in 6. And then in the Eastern Conference, you mentioned it, Lepore, with the Battle of Florida here. Like, no Braden Point is huge, but I've seen this team win a Stanley Cup without Steven Stamkos.
Yeah, true.
I've seen this team pull off some crazy shit over the past couple of seasons. I think Tampa's going to take out Florida.
Yeah.
I think they're going to take out Florida. I'm going to say Lightning in 7.
Yeah. It's going to be. Has there been an update on Point's injury?
I haven't seen an update yet. At the time of recording, who knows? Maybe by the time this is posted, we're going to have an update on that. It didn't look good.
It looked like a groin or a hip.
Yeah, it looked like he's probably going to be out for the series, but who knows?
At least, yeah.
But I'm still going to take Tampa, heart of a champion, and I think they're going to win in 7. And then in that Carolina-New York series, I think Carolina's a great team. I kind of look at them in the same light as I do Calgary. Like, I think they're kind of very similar, just very good all-around teams. But the Rangers are another team I had going to the Final Four. So I'm going to pick the Rangers to take out the Carolina Hurricanes also in 7 games, Lepore.
Nice. I hope so. Let's get a lot more. The more hockey, the better. Let's go.
Yeah, man. So I already forgot who I have as well. I have St. Louis, I have Calgary, New York, and Tampa Bay in the Final Four.
Nice. We got some differences, so that's good.
Yeah, I like it. We switched it up a little bit. We're not on all the same teams. But Lepore, before we wrap up this podcast, anything else you want to get off your chest real quick?
No. Like I said, I didn't want to go for 5 hours today, so I won't get everything off my chest. But it's that time of year, everyone. It's the second round. You're a Leafs fan. You can just be neutral and watch hockey and relax. I'm getting used to this. Right? Just watching the games and having a good time as a hockey fan. Great. Wonderful. Awesome. I will say the Leafs going out. I mean, I'm not happy about this, but the Leafs going out saved me a whack of dough because I went to game 5, which was amazing as fuck in Toronto. And then I was all amped up. I'm like, I'm going to one game in every round, whether it's 5, 6 or 7, I'm going. So you mean train ticket. We all know how expensive Leafs tickets are. Yeah. So I saved a whack of dough. I don't know. You want Bruno? What do you want to get on a jet to Madison Square Garden? Maybe go see a game there.
It's not a bad idea, man.
Hey, Florida, man. I'll chill in Florida for a couple
let's
weeks.
Go
back
go
and
watch
forth.
Battle of Florida.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That would be pretty sick.
Tickets will be cheaper to the Leafs, that's for sure.
But one thing I could tell you, my girlfriend is pretty happy that the Leafs are out because now I can actually do things with her instead of watching every single Leaf game and being locked in and being a psycho nerdy Leaf fan who has to watch every second of every game and listen to every word of the broadcast. And now it's like you said, Lepore, now we can just relax and live our lives and enjoy playoff hockey and not stress and just be complete nervous wrecks for the next month or two. So that's always a positive thing.
My wife's funny. I've said a million times on this show that Kerfoot's her favorite player. So she didn't have a great game 6 watching that game. And my wife's she's a fiery woman. I mean, she was cursing at the TV, cursing at Cooper when he was celebrating, a few F-bombs. She's got a lot of passion. And I mean, she's a Leaf fan, right? So I mean, I apologize to her all the time for bringing this into our household. And my nephew came over for game 7. I got to apologize to him. This poor kid. Think of us, man. I mean, we can at least avoid stuff. Here's this kid, 9 years old. What's he got to do the next day? He's got to go to class. What a recess, like all of his friends. His teacher is a Colorado Avalanche fan.
Oh, come on.
This guy's from Quebec City and he was a little kid when they moved. So he became an Avalanche fan. So he's just ripping into him. And then, he comes home. Where does he got to go? He's got to go to hockey and go in a locker room where everyone's just ripping into him.
That's tough, man. That's tough. Me and you, we can just chill, fly under the radar. Well,
I'm the crazy on Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. I'm the crazy person who's still sending out tweets and posting videos and stuff. And, I'm taking heat from, 7 different fan bases at once, it seems. Awesome. But I love it, man. I love it. I love talking hockey with you guys. Lepore, I mean, we love this stuff, man. Like,
best, man.
Thank you guys for listening all season long, following us as we track this Leaf team and gave you our thoughts every single week. And, it ended in another disappointment, but this isn't the end of the GFP podcast. We're still going to be pumping out some content throughout the playoffs.
Yeah, man.
We're obviously very disappointed that the Leafs did not move on. Who knows what kind of podcast this is going to turn into? It turned into a Montreal Canadiens podcast last year. Maybe, Lepore, it'll turn into a Calgary Flames podcast.
Ooh, we love Flames fans, man. So.
Maybe an Edmonton Oilers podcast.
Alberta, let's do it.
Who knows?
Ooh, Goudreau/McDavid jersey giveaway.
Oh, Lepore, you're getting me excited there.
Yeah,
you're getting the listeners and the viewers very excited there. All right, man. Yeah, we'll be here throughout the playoffs. So thank you once again. For Michael Lepore, I'm Anthony Bruno. Please smash that like button, subscribe, all that good stuff. 5-star rating and reviews on Apple and Spotify. And we will see you in the next one.
Thanks so much, everyone.